Cool. All right. So let's talk about a little. Did I miss anything in the history wise, or we should move on?
No,
to
I think we're fine.
All right. Let's talk about some of the topics. I know obviously you're big into international SEO. I mean, just give us a little high level stuff of like what your thoughts on international SEO, how you go about it, and so forth. Obviously, I mentioned hreflang, but probably more than that.
That's the thing. When I speak with people about international SEO in general, SEOs obviously, it's always hreflang, hreflang, hreflang. Hreflang is an important tag, but it's just a tag. That really is all it is.
Right.
And essentially, it helps Google in many ways, in many cases, but it's not always something that Google is utilizing. And Google has been saying that very specifically. So I would say that hreflang may be more complex in some cases, and then the technical research and optimization has a bigger part in an international SEO campaign. But essentially, it's a very small part of taking a site internationally. Because the whole concept of international SEO is taking a site and running it in multiple languages, 2 languages, 5 languages, 20 languages, and optimizing whatever you can for your site's visibility.
So you'd say hreflang is not the hardest part of international SEO?
Not at all.
What's the hardest part, you think?
The hardest part is figuring out culture, is figuring out how to make locals feel like they came to a local site. It's okay if, let's say, a German comes to a website which is ran by an American company and he knows that it's an American company. But the German site needs to feel German. It needs to feel like he is, like the company gets him, understands him. So it's more of a cultural thing. It's more about all the metrics. It's more about understanding how people react and interact with search and the site and read content. So these things are quite different between one country to another. Not all of them, obviously, and some countries are more complex. I'm not even going to speak about China, which is like a different world when it comes to SEO. Right. But even European countries that we are familiar with, they require a lot of research to make people feel like this website has been built for them and not just translated from English.
And the businesses you work with in terms of them going international, I'm sure they're already international. I mean, they have presence in those areas. It's just making sure that their website or websites support that, correct?
Exactly.
And wouldn't they know the culture since they're operating there, or they don't?
I'll tell you what. There are so many different types of companies that take international in so many different ways. So there are the companies who actually have local teams and take every single one of the countries seriously, and then it's more of an optimization question. And then there's the other side where companies simply translate the content, they put it up and put it live and hope for the best. Right. And that's really all they do. And then it never, well, I wouldn't say never, but it doesn't always work. And more recently, with the recent Google updates, we see that Google likes it less and less and less. We'll speak about one update specifically soon.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so you discussed obviously not just hreflang. We discussed like the local research and the culture and stuff like that. What else is there in terms of local SEO? I'm sorry, international SEO.
So first of all, the whole keyword research is extremely difficult. Why? Because you cannot just translate. So what we are working on for the past 3 months, I would say, is something that we call the International Assessment Report. So think about a company that says, okay, I want to expand my market. I can probably think of Spanish or French or Italian or German. What else is out there? Igal and team, like what should we do? Or should we even focus on these countries? Right. So we start with some kind of a report. The thing is that I don't speak all of these languages and my team doesn't speak all of these languages. So we need to find the right terms to sort of like expand the keyword research and understand like all the possibility and the potential and the topics that they should be covering. The thing is that in many cases, we understand that, let's say in language X, let's say Spanish, for example, they should not even be focusing on the same topics. They should be going outside of the original English topics. So then it's not just translating, it's actually creating completely new content. So I would say that this is like the biggest part of international because we first of all want to make sure that we even understand what people are searching for in every single country, that we have the right research to sort of like support all of that. And only then we get to the content strategy assessment and building.
And a lot of your clients will be like, we could just use Google Translate to translate stuff? Is that an issue?
It's a thing. It's a thing. It exists. It exists a lot more than I thought, to be honest with you. I can probably say shocked this year to see how many companies actually translate their site their sites with Google Translate. More than you think, and pretty large companies too. And they are not doing that because they're evil or because they're stupid. They're doing that because there was like, okay, we have this SEO that was done so far in English. We have that traffic that is coming in. There's an idea, let's try a few languages. How are we going to translate it? We're going to use Google Translate, and later on, we will bring an editor. The thing is that later on, never happens or not always happens, or even if it happens, they only translate and edit a little part of it.
Right.
And a lot of pages remain online with Google Translate.
And is it a fight to get them to understand that?
It's usually not a fight. It's usually not a fight because it's common sense, and people understand that if Google Translate is the way that the site was translated, it only makes sense why Google doesn't like it. There are other methods than Google Translate, let's say like DeepL, which is slightly more effective from what I've seen in the last year. And when I say more effective, it means that I've seen a few examples of sites that were translated by DeepL that were hit less significantly in the May core update, which I think was the main update in the last 12 months, which had the biggest impact on sort of like AI translated websites.
Interesting. What about let's get what about obviously the helpful content update probably didn't touch any of these international sites because it was English only.
We haven't seen yet anything, but we're waiting.
Right. Okay. But these core updates, we just had a September core update. Again, this video probably won't be out until probably the 2023 core
Many
update.
things may change by then.
But these core updates do have an impact on AI-driven content usage.
I would say that most of them don't, at least not significantly and not directly.
Right.
Let's say that I've been looking at least on 12 different domains over the last few months that have international sites.
Right.
And I would say that most of them that were hit or impacted were impacted specifically in the end of May 2022.
Okay. And then you mentioned this international assessment report. Is there anything else you want to tell us about that? Or?
So the international assessment report, basically as an agency, what we're trying to build is something that can be as scalable as possible. Not because we necessarily need it for a lot of clients as much as we want it for many languages. And the manual part is still very significant in it. It's almost done. We are automating parts of it, and hopefully by the time the video is out, we're going to release this report for everyone to use because it's going to help people sort of like understand if Go and International makes sense for them or not.
And this will be at webify.io.
Probably.
All right.
Or on Twitter or LinkedIn.
They can follow you.
Yeah.
What's your Twitter handles? So.
It's Igal ST or Igal.
So we'll get that in the video as well.